Hello and welcome. We begin in the United States, where the man accused of an apparent assassination attempt on Donald Trump has been named by US media as Ryan Wesley Routh. He was seen with a rifle near the former president as he was playing golf. Now, the incident happened at Trump's golf course in West Palm Beach. A witness saw the gunman and managed to take photos of his car. Officers then spotted the vehicle on the I-95 highway and apprehended the suspect in Martin County near Palm City, around a 45-minute drive away. Dmitry Medvedenko has the latest.
Donald Trump was playing golf here at the Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach when the Secret Service said they spotted a gunman in the bushes at the edge of the course and opened fire at him.
The U.S. Secret Service personnel opened fire on a gunman located near the property line, and this matter is under investigation.
The Secret Service agent that was on the course did a fantastic job. What they do is they have an agent that jumps one hole ahead of time to where the president was at. And he was able to spot this rifle barrel sticking out of the fence and immediately engage that individual, at which time the individual took off.
Police say the suspect escaped the scene in an SUV ID'd by a witness and apprehended later without any additional violence.
We took as high a profile felon off the streets as is possible. We did it safely. Nobody else was hurt.
Law enforcement officials say they found an AK-47 rifle with a scope, 2 backpacks with ceramic plating hung on the fence, and a GoPro camera. The Republican presidential candidate was taken to a holding room at the club by the Secret Service. Donald Trump later sent an email to his fundraising list saying, "Fear not, I am safe and well, and no one was hurt." 2 months ago, Donald Trump's ear was grazed by a bullet when a gunman took a shot at him during a campaign speech in Pennsylvania. The head of the Secret Service resigned after that assassination attempt. Now new questions about his security will be raised after this latest incident. Dmitry Medvedenko, Al Jazeera.
Let's cross to Patty Colhane in Washington, D.C. So pretty unprecedented evening where you are. Talk us through the political reaction to this attempted assassination.
Well, we haven't heard anything additional from the former President Donald Trump since that one email to supporters. But we have heard from U.S. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, who is obviously running against Donald Trump for the presidency, both condemning the attack, saying that they are happy that Trump is safe, that there's no place for political violence or violence of any kind in the United States, and reiterating that they've directed Secret Service to make sure they have every capability they need to protect the former president. We're hearing a lot of posts on social media from Republicans demanding an immediate investigation, saying that the former president needs to have as much Secret Service protection as the current president because it isn't the same level. And actually, in the press conference, they brought that up because the question is, how could somebody get as close to the former president for, we believe, almost just under 300 meters, possibly under 500 meters, clearly close enough that with that gun and with the scope, they could have made the shot if they had the former president in their sights. So they said at the question at the press conference was, well, how could someone get that close? And then the response was, well, he's a former president, not a current president, so it's a much different footprint. So I think you're going to see in the hours and days ahead more and more calls for former President Trump to have the same protection as a sitting president.
And do we know much more about the person that is behind this shooting? I believe he has been detained now.
He has been detained, and the police said when they pulled him over and got him out of the car that he was very subdued. Didn't ask why he was being pulled over. But we know his name is Ryan Routh, 58 years old, and he is very prolific on social media, according to American news media. They say that he posted in 2022 that he was in Kyiv, Ukraine, that he wanted to go there. And he said this in interviews with mainstream media outlets, that he wanted to sign up to fight with the Ukrainian military military. He said that they told him since he was 56 years old with no military experience that they would pass on that. But he told reporters, set up a GoFundMe page because he wanted to basically get former Afghan soldiers, smuggle them out and get them to Ukraine so they could fight Russia. Not clear if he actually did any of that. Several violent media posts from him on many different topics. But Ukraine seems to definitely be perhaps his motivation here, if he in fact is the suspect, because as you know, in the last presidential debate, Donald Trump was asked twice, does he want Ukraine to win the war? And he simply didn't answer, just saying that he could end the war without giving any specifics. And again, when it comes to this Routh, 58 years old, quite a long criminal history. If this is the same person, the name and the ages match up in the criminal records. He apparently was barricaded in a standoff with police for hours, eventually being arrested for having an assault weapon. In different court filings, it appears he has almost over 100 criminal charges, including stolen property, concealed carry of weapons, and assorted other charges. It doesn't appear that he spent any time in prison, though. So waiting to hear, the police said that hours ago that they would release his name officially. Still haven't done that, but we'll be keeping an eye on that in the hours ahead.
OK, many thanks for that, Patty Cohen there for us in Washington, D.C. For more on how this latest shooting attempt on the former president's life could have on the election, let's talk now to James Davis. He's a Republican strategist and the founder of Touchdown Strategies. He joins us live from Washington, D.C. Many thanks for your time this evening. So a huge sense of shock, I'm sure, within the Republican community. How will they be processing what's happened?
I think as an American, just in general, you've got to be looking at this and thinking, wow, we really have to do more to amp up security for all the presidential candidates to ensure their safety. You have to be worried about the political violence and what it seems to almost feel like the norm now. And you have to worry about the discourse that's happening in America and how we're getting to this point. I think as just as a father of 5 kids, I think about the world we want to leave behind for our kids. And, it's quite concerning at this moment.
I mean, you touched on it. Is this political climate that we're seeing today, has it become the new normal to have this sort of violence?
It certainly feels like the new normal. I hope it's not. I hope it's just the recency bias of all of this that makes it feel that way. But extreme partisan tribalism is wreaking havoc across America. And that's not the vast majority of Americans, but it is the fringes sort of on both sides who are escalating the conversations in really non-productive ways. And then obviously candidates feed into that as well, and they set the stage for the way we talk to one another. And we see a lack of civility overall. I hope as we move forward, we'll just get back to talking about the issues and focusing on the issues that are facing Americans. That's the economy, that's the border, that's actually talking about our engagement in foreign wars and have a reasonable conversation around it and stop ad hominem attacks and some of the culture war stuff that we've seen.
I mean, Trump, more than any other candidate, is well known for using very divisive and inflammatory language. Should he be bearing some responsibility for the climate that we're talking about and seeing today?
I think we can all bear some responsibility for the climate. I think it's really tough to say that right now, seeing as he's been had 2 assassination attempts against him, to put the blame on him. He certainly has contributed to some of the dialogue in this country. But when you say, he's the biggest threat to democracy, that also is pretty strong language and plays part of that and contributes to sort of the negative atmosphere that we have. Hopefully, again, our better angels will appear and come to us and that we can unite a little bit and have a little more civil discourse as we move forward, not just for this election, but for elections well into the future. Democracy is precious and we need to protect it. And one way of protecting that is just having really solid conversations. We can disagree without the vitriol and disrespect for one another.
So how do you think this incident will impact how the former president approaches the final 2 months of the campaign?
Well, I'd say if history is a prediction of the future, then it probably doesn't change much in how he engages. Although I do, like I said earlier, hope that he focuses in on the issues more specifically. I think that's to his advantage. He wins on the issues overall, and I think it'll make him look more presidential, which is the part in the polls where he's falling behind against Kamala Harris. And so I think it's really up to him. I think he can really take the front lead on this campaign. It's going to be a tight campaign to the end regardless. And so having it being a civil discourse, I think will be really important, particularly as the ballots come in and, there are questions about, how fast the ballots should be counted. Are they accurate? Do we have cheating and voter fraud and all of those things? Those are really great issues, and we need to have constructive dialogue around them, but it needs to be constructive.
This has been an election race with so many twists and turns. How do you think this is going to impact the election? I mean, will we see more people in America invested in the election? Could it result in a larger turnout?
I think we'll see a large turnout for this election. Absolutely. How it will impact the overall election, I'm not yet sure. I think that, the coming weeks will really pan that out. If we would have thought, after the first assassination attempt, if we had seen an election at that point, I think everyone would have said that Trump was going to win, only to then see a couple weeks later the polls shift significantly. I mean, this is very, very fluid, and I think we'll have to kind of watch it through the end to ultimately see what's going to happen. I think it does ultimately make him a sympathetic figure, because he can say, hey, I've been targeted by political courts. I've been targeted by political adversaries. And then, I've actually been targeted violently. And so it does sort of play into his hand there in some of the campaign messages for the base. But I'm not exactly sure how much that's going to change the undecided voter at this point.
OK. We'll have to see. Not long to go. Thank you for your time, James Davis, Republican strategist and founder of Touchdown Strategies.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.